Hi, everyone. This is like a weird video because I don't usually do these types of videos.
It's usually a lot more random.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of doing our thing.
Random stuff. We just decided we were gonna like answer some questions. People are like asking a bunch of stuff about how it is to live up north. Okay, so let's talk about rent. Rent in Whitehorse. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's definitely not cheap.
It's hard to, like, I don't really know how it is other places entirely. But, I mean, I've personally been looking for an apartment. Or like some, like a suite or something. Like a one bedroom, like, on my own thing instead of living in a house with other people.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like $1,000 or more, usually more. It's kind of hard to find anything lower than that.
Yeah, it's kind of expensive, and like, I'm lucky where I'm not paying that much, but I'm like...
But you're sharing a house.
I'm sharing a house with 2 other people. But like, if you want to spend, like, pay, like, even then, like, you're living with 2 other people and you're still paying like $900 to $1,000. And sometimes that's not even including utilities, so it is quite expensive to live here. It's just because we don't have the housing. It's expanding faster than there are places to live, and there are just an influx of people who want to live in the Yukon.
Yeah.
I mean, for good reason. There's a lot of good things about living here, but it is expensive, so it's definitely like...
Along with that, also like food. Food is generally a little bit more expensive. It's not terrible, but it's more expensive than down south.
Definitely, yeah.
For some things.
Definitely more expensive. Also, I find we have like, there are times where like we have supply problems occasionally. True. Well, like you'll go to...
Last summer, for instance, it was like, we had fires and floods on the only highway that leads into the Yukon, and that's where all of our supply comes from, is on the highway.
It felt like the apocalypse for 1 week here. Like, we had no internet at one point for a whole day, so we couldn't communicate with anyone or use like any debit or credit. So everyone was like scrambling for cash at ATMs. There was forest fires like all across the Yukon. There was floods like cutting off like the main roads to get here. It was yeah, it felt a little like doomsday.
A little bit.
But we made it out. It was fine. It wasn't that bad. But it did feel a little bit apocalyptic for a second. So that kind of happens sometimes where like the one road gets blocked or it gets too cold, so then like our shipments don't come in, so we have like no butter or like no like of something random, or
yeah, the shelves sometimes do look pretty barren.
Yeah, but it is I mean, we only have like 2 highways to get here, so yeah. Okay, let's talk about jobs. There are so many jobs here. There's a plethora of jobs. Everyone's hiring, and the pay is pretty good here because it is up north, so, you know. And also if you...
Yukon living as well. When you do your taxes, you get like a tax write-off because of Yukon living, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Because it's more expensive to live here.
Yeah.
For food and housing.
There's a lot of government jobs here. That is like a big thing here, is just government jobs. Mm-hmm. Also, because there's so many jobs that need filled, like you can definitely get a job that you wouldn't normally get in a big city. There's a lot...
The standards are kind of lower.
Yeah, because there's just so much demand for people that they're like, you have like these types of skills and you're like knowledgeable, we'll take you, because like, you know, it's better that than like no one at all, which I find very often here. So that's kind of good. What else we got? I got like internet. Yeah,
internet's good. Well, it's all right.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say good because it's fairly expensive as well. That's the one thing. Compared to down south, it's like way more expensive.
Yeah,
we finally recently have unlimited internet, which is huge. Yeah. But again, really expensive. Yeah. Because we have one internet company here, and they kind of have a monopoly where like it's just them, so they can kind of charge a lot. Yeah,
I haven't personally, like, if you're playing like super intense like video games that require a lot like really fast internet, then you're
kind of sucks.
It is kind of like rough.
It is more spotty as well. Like, I find it isn't as stable as down south. Like, it definitely can fluctuate more. Like, for like I experience it. So
yeah. But like for me, who like just uses their phone or like watches Netflix or something, it really doesn't affect me at all, which is pretty good.
And then like in terms of cell service, you got like it's decent and it's good in town, like you have good cell service. But then there's like as soon as you get out of town, there's no cell service.
Really nothing.
Like it's just like a lot of the Yukon. There's no cell service because you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which kind of segues into another topic of there's not many cities or like little towns. Like a lot of time when you're driving around down south, there's like you're driving through tons of towns.
Yeah.
But here there's like nothing.
Yeah, so you have to make sure that you have gas, like you know where the next gas station is, and you're always making sure that you're getting gas like when you can, because you might not be able to get gas for like another 4 hours.
Yeah, like on the way to Dawson, for instance, like what, like a solid 4 hours before there's another gas station.
So we always have to check for that. Moving on to things that people think happens in the Yukon, or they have the idea of what it is to live in the Yukon, or like
where like people think we live in igloos and take dog sleds everywhere.
We definitely don't live in igloos.
We're currently not in an igloo, if you couldn't tell.
But yeah, you're not going to find igloos here.
More so than the Yukon.
Yeah, and we don't have polar bears this far south. Yeah. Maybe if you go up further, there might be some polar bears, but we mostly just have black bears and grizzly bears in this area. It isn't cold and dark all the time. Currently, we're in our winter season, which means that we get like 5 hours of sunlight every day.
Yeah.
So it is cold and dark. It gets a little bit depressing.
Yeah, there's not much sunlight, so that's tough.
But we do get a nice summer. We do get like 20-degree weather.
And sometimes we get high 20-degree weather. So it is like, there's a couple weeks through the summer where it is quite warm.
Yeah. It's like, I would say it's like fairly regular summer. It is a bit chillier, I would say, like overall.
Oh, for sure. And in terms of light, it's the opposite in summer. So you get like about 4 or 5 hours of darkness, where as it's mostly light in the summer.
Yeah,
so
you get like a midnight sun, and it's even then, like at its darkest, sometimes I find it's more like blue hours, so it's still like
it's like not full dark.
It's not dark. It's kind of like dusk for like most of the night, which is kind of fun. We don't use sled dogs on a regular basis. It's definitely
a leisure thing, like a recreational thing.
Yeah. There's definitely people who do, but like I often find
like
right
some
now
people go like trapping and like or like live out in cabins in the bush, and like quite often they'll use sled dogs. Generally more they'll use like actual sled, like a skidoo.
Yeah.
Because it's just more convenient.
Yeah.
And then we have like the Yukon Quest, which is a yearly or an annual sled dog race, which is very popular up here.
Yeah. So people train for that, definitely. Yeah. And we're talking like we live still close, like south, and we're like live in a fairly like big city.
Yeah, I mean Whitehorse is a big city.
So
it is most of the population.
It is like everyone lives here pretty much.
Yeah. But like in some of the communities, like up in Old Crowley.
Probably, definitely. They do a lot
more. And they have a lot of skidoos in the winter, and that's how they get around. But.
Yeah. So when we talk, like, we might not necessarily be talking like all of the Yukon. We're talking like
more so
like
Whitehorse.
Whitehorse, because we've mostly experienced Whitehorse. So yeah, in Whitehorse you don't really do dog sledding. You can go like experience dog sledding, but people are either training to race or like more of a leisure thing. But you're not gonna like walk down the street and there's like someone's traveling via dog sled.
You're never gonna see someone going to work in a dog sled or with a dog sled.
Yeah. One big thing I found is Northern Lights. It's like a big thing to come in like January, February, December for Northern Lights, but it's always really cold.
Yeah.
And if you're like, obviously if you're going with a tour, like a tour group, like they have like a tent for you and like they have like the whole experience. But if you're looking for like a more approachable way of like seeing Northern Lights, they do come out like end of August, September, and they're still good. And
sometimes actually better in the fall. Like fall is kind of like the peak season. So. And it's also warmer, so you're not.
Yeah, so you're not freezing your butt off. Also, fall here is beautiful. It might not be like, you know, your classic
Ontario.
You
get
like,
all the colors, but you get some colors.
But it's very different, but it's still like breathtaking. So definitely things that I've noticed is like you have to take more precautions when you're driving in the winter. Like you have to make sure you have a full gas tank, have to make sure you have like blankets or like things so like if you break down, you're not freezing at like -40.
Well, you're gonna be freezing, but
yeah, but like you
hopefully
can not hypothermic.
Yeah, like definitely bring winter clothes and half blankets.
Yeah.
Make sure you have at least a half a tank at all times.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't go below half a tank just in
Yeah.
general, because you want to make sure if you are broken down somewhere, maybe you can run your engine to keep warm, or
Yeah. So
yeah.
that's kind of fun. I didn't know about that because in Ontario, like,
Also, you're not as isolated in Ontario,
Yeah.
like, or like in other places.
you don't have to worry about that. Like if you break down, it's not as cold, first of all, and it's also like,
You're close to safety.
Yeah.
There's other things you can go to.
whereas here if you break down like 40 minutes out of town, like
Yeah, there's nothing
there's
around.
nothing around, there's no service, so you have to wait for a car
Passing.
to drive by and help you. So you just really got to be more careful about these types of things, which
Yeah.
we do have grocery stores.
Yeah.
I would say it's like a regular town.
Yeah.
Like we have
you're gonna-
Walmart, multiple grocery
Canadian
stores,
Tire.
Canadian Tire. Pretty much everything you would like need. I wouldn't say you have everything that you would want. Like if you like
Well,
to go shopping
yeah.
and do these types of things, like you have to go to Vancouver for that. But like it has the bare minimum that you would need and probably a little bit more than that too.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a decent selection of like restaurants as well.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's not amazing, but like there's good options.
Yeah, we definitely like we have options. It's not just like you have like the Domino's and the Tim Hortons. Like we have like quite a few things. And so we could do like a little side note. So we hike a lot
Yeah.
because I mean it's a beautiful place to hike. There's just
It's a good place for hiking.
vast landscapes.
There's
It's
so
not
many
busy
There's so many mountains to climb.
and like the views are insane.
That's another thing. The hikes are not walks. Like a lot of times in Ontario, hikes are kind of just like a walk and then a bit of a view, whereas here it's mountain climbing.
Yeah, like
A lot of
it takes
elevation.
you like 5-6 hours to get to the top of a peak. So yeah, there's a lot of beautiful places to hike, but you definitely have to be more prepared.
Mhm.
Like it is remote. You might see like a few people, but sometimes you don't see anyone
Yeah,
at
you
all.
can definitely do hikes where you're not going to run into anyone.
So you have to make sure like you have like
Food,
food, extra like
water.
water, or even like
or
a
waste
water
it, yeah.
filter.
And for protection, you need bear spray because you're pretty much everywhere is bear country.
Yeah.
Not that you're gonna run into bears every time. It's just to make sure you
Yeah,
have.
like we haven't run into bears yet, but that's also because we make sure that we're talking loud all the time and that we're like warning them.
We're always trying to be loud. Sometimes we'll just be like hollering just to.
Yeah,
Every once
and
in a
like
while.
singing really stupid songs, and you know, just to make sure that like
You also don't. Yeah, you don't want to spook a bear. So like if you're making noise, the bear knows you're coming, and
Yeah.
then it's a lot less dangerous.
yeah, giving someone your itinerary, like being like, we're leaving on this day, we're coming back on this day around this time,
And where we're going.
we're going here, just so that people know. So if you
you're-
don't show up, then they're like, okay, this is a problem.
And most of the time you don't have cell service. Pretty much every hike you do, you almost don't have cell service.
Yeah.
So another thing is having an InReach, which is like a device that can,
A GPS.
yeah, a GPS device that you can communicate with
Yeah.
people, or like you can send out messages, like emergency messages,
Yeah.
in pretty much any location, I believe.
Yeah. So if you guys like want to know more about hiking in the Yukon and like tips and tricks and stuff that we've learned, leave it in the comments below.
Maybe
And
like go over our gear too, like kind
we'll
of
make
what we bring.
we'll make a little video about that if you guys are interested. Things I found that are specific to here. You have to plug in your car when it's cold.
A lot of people don't know about that.
So you have to get like a block heater or like a blanket to like heat.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different things. Like you can have like there's oil pan heaters, which heat up the oil pan. There's battery blankets, which keep your battery warm, and then there's also a block heater, which keeps your engine block warm. And those are all like people usually use one of them.
Yeah.
Generally, an engine block heater or an oil pan heater are the most common. Or if you have a bad battery, battery blankets are good. But
Yeah.
so you have
Which
to
is-
plug in your car at night.
Yeah. So
If
that
it's
it
really
starts
cold.
in the morning. So
Generally, when it's minus 25 and below, then you're gonna have to probably plug
Yeah.
your car in, depending on the car.
Yeah. Also, square tires are actually a thing. I just remembered that. It's literally
square is a
okay. They're not
bit of
actually
an
square,
exaggeration, but
like you're driving and it's like
when you first start driving your car, like because your car's been sitting, your tires kind of freeze, like the rubber freezes flat. Like the bottom of it will be kind of more flat than the rest of it.
Yeah.
So when you first start driving, you can actually feel the bumps of like your tires being not round. 10 minutes into driving, it'll warm up and
yeah, it'll go away.
Go round. But
ice fog.
it's pretty.
Ice fog is a thing. When it gets really cold here, like ice crystals form in the air, and so like the whole town is like enveloped in like fog.
When it is minus 30 and below, it is hard to breathe.
Yeah.
Because when the air is just so cold, it's
yeah.
It's hard to take deep breath.
Yeah, I found it like, I don't know, I just found I was like coughing a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it hurts. I don't know.
Yeah, it's good to have a neck warmer or something so you can actually like cover your mouth, like a thin neck warmer to like breathe through.
Here we don't get snow days really. Like,
yeah.
It's minus 40, things continue as normal. It snows a bunch, things continue as normal.
We don't really get enough snow to have an actual snow day, like in Ontario, where it's like, or like BC, where you get like a dump of snow. Yeah. We don't get as much snow because it is a bit more dry up here.
Yeah.
You don't get as much precipitation as other places. But.
Yeah, but I thought that was interesting because in Ontario, sometimes some weeks you would get like 3 snow days in a row. But here you just don't get time off. Like you don't get snow days. That's not like a thing that happens. It's like minus 40 and people are like just living their life as usual. If you're ever flying here, fly Air North. I don't know if it's like, it might be a little bit more expensive, but it's such a nice airline. The people are so nice. And then you get free food, they give you snacks. And they also, most of the time, give you a warm cookie.
True.
Which is like one of the biggest things. Like when I hear people talk about Air North, they're like, oh, and the warm cookie. Yeah. But the warm cookie that they give you. It's just so nice.
And they have a lot less cancellations than the other airlines. Well, I guess it's just Air Canada.
Yeah, than Air Canada. Like Air Canada will cancel a lot.
And when it gets cold, Air Canada 90% of the time will cancel the flights, whereas Air North, they'll fly no matter what temperature pretty much because well, they have hangars, so they can actually warm up their planes in the hangar, whereas Air Canada can't because they don't have hangars here.
Yeah. So fly Air North. So fun facts about the Yukon. Despite being a small town, the traffic still sucks.
It does.
They did not build the city for expansion.
Yeah.
So at like 8 a.m. it's so busy. The traffic is so bad.
It's so slow to get around downtown around that time. It's just,
it's insane. So yeah, traffic is still bad here. We also have the world's smallest desert. So Carcross Desert is the tiniest
tiniest
desert.
We've had that in one of our videos.
Yeah.
We had a little drone shot of it.
Foxes like roam around. We have a lot of foxes. They're kind of like raccoons or like skunks in like...
In the city, yeah. They just hang out everywhere in the city.
And you'll just be walking around and you'll turn around and it'll be like a fox just like 50 meters away from you, just like chilling.
A lot of times in the morning, like on the way to work, you'll see them just jumping around, running around.
Jumping on cars, like just like...
Yeah.
Just
you also have to be careful because they will steal things off your porch and...
Yeah, like people like complain, like they'll put their shoes out to dry or something and then they'll come back and their shoes will be gone. Yeah. Foxes love stealing people's shoes.
Yeah.
It's like a reoccurring thing, like getting your shoes stolen by a fox.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. Last category, we have things that we love about the Yukon.
There's not many people. Especially when we're on hikes. I like that part. Where we're like on hikes, we're not running into people. Like you see sometimes down south. I've not gone hiking down south and a lot of the time there'll be just people everywhere.
Yeah.
Which it takes away from the experience for me.
Yeah. Here you can be like on a peak, like alone. Just like insane views and you're just like, you actually have like time to like let it sink in.
Yeah. Because
like I find in BC, like you go on a hike and you're like, there's like 20 other people who are like trying to get the same picture. Yeah. So here it's a lot more of a Zen experience, I would say.
For sure.
Obviously, Northern Lights, they're friggin' sick. Like, actually insane.
It's a magical experience.
Like, I've cried watching Northern Lights. They're like a beautiful experience. So if you ever have the chance to experience Northern Lights, like, do it.
It's magical.
It's magical. They have really pretty flowers. I really love, like, you hike and there's just like tons of like mountain flowers.
Yeah.
They're so beautiful, and like fireweed is beautiful. So
yeah, there's lots.
I'm a big fan of Yukon flowers. Midnight sun.
True. That's fun in the summer.
Yeah. It's perfect. Like.
Yeah, it really makes for a good summer because you can do a lot of activities still.
Yeah. And it's a bit weird, like, going to bed and it's like light out, but.
Yeah, sometimes you have to use like blackout blinds or whatever if you need to sleep in the dark. And then there's lots of animals.
So many animals.
Yeah, every time you're on a road trip, pretty much, you'll run into an animal. At least in the summer.
Like bears.
Even in the winter sometimes.
Or like elk.
Caribou. Deer.
Moose. Like.
Yeah, foxes.
So many foxes.
Wolves, coyotes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wolves
many.
are a little less common because they're pretty elusive, but.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
I think that's everything that we've had to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, if you have any other questions, I hope this was like
Hopefully it was
helpful and not confusing. If you have any questions, please just leave them in the comments below. We'll be more than happy to answer them. Maybe if we compile enough questions, we'll do another one of these. Yeah. If anyone wants to do that, or if you have any other topics that you'd like us to cover more in depth, we'll totally do that for you guys. Just let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah.
Hope this was helpful at all. And yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye.